This is Nikki Collins.
Jordan Canada.
Essence Carson.
Liz Cambage.
Imani Media Stafford. And you're listening to WNBA Weekly.
What's up, WNBA fans? Welcome to another episode of WNBA Weekly. Guys, we had opening weekend. I'm so stoked. And I'm joined today by, as per usual, I've got Jason Snow along for the ride. How's it going, Jason?
Dude, I'm doing so good. The season has begun. The long wait is over. So everything is wonderful right now. I'm doing good. How about yourself, Kyle?
Awesome, dude. I had the fact that the WNBA season's back makes me so happy. And guys, we have a special guest today. For those of you who have checked out our Patreon page, know that if we have a patron who has hit our Hall of Fame level for a minimum of 3 months, they get to hop on a show with us. So we have a special guest, Joe Boris. Joe, welcome to the show.
Woo. Thank you.
We're so excited to have you on, Joe. We're super pumped, and we just want to thank you kind of like right here in front of everybody. Like, thank you for your support of the show. A lot of what your contributions and things have helped with some of this, the video development, things like that, kind of some of the additional opportunities that we'll have to cover the league moving forward. So we just want to thank you right now before we kind of hop into everything for being such a huge part and kind of a co-producer of the show. So thank you.
Absolutely. You guys are welcome.
Well, guys, opening weekend. I'm super stoked to hop into this. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot of kind of our initial reactions as far as what like the, what we got from the weekend, some things that we really liked. But before we do, we need to hit everybody up with our first edition of the Triple W.
1, 2, 3.
And the winner of the Most Valuable Player Award is...
You are the one!
The way I see it, you owe Tina an apology.
Watch me.
All right, guys. So, the first weekend. This is where it gets really excited because this is the Rookie of the Week nominees. This is where we get to see these players for the very first time in the league and get kind of a first impression for who they are and what they're going to bring to the league. So your nominees for the Rookie of the Week in Week 1 are, first, Napheesa Collier, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks. She had a monster game. We had Arike Ogunbowale as well, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. Tiara McCowan with 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and we're going to hear a little bit more about her later, I have a feeling. And Brooke McCarty-Williams had 8 points, 8 assists, and 2 steals. So let's toss it over to Whoopi to hear the winner.
This week's Rookie of the Week is Napheesa Collier. She finished the game with 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 2 steals, helping lead the Lynx to an 89-71 win over the Sky. She showed off all facets of her game. Could she hit the 3? Yes, she can. What about the pull-up jumper? There it is. And a contested layup. Oh yes. But the real question is, will she have an impact on defense? Block City. Congrats to Napheesa Collier on being our first Rookie of the Week.
All right, so congratulations, and now on to our MVP of the week. A lot of great performances this opening weekend, and these were your nominees that you had to choose from. Starting off with DeWanna Bonner, 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. Tina Charles up in New York, even though they lost a close one, she put together a great game, 32 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 assists. Alyssa Thomas with the Sun had a phenomenal game as well, 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. And not last but not least, the Seattle Storm, the defending champs, Natasha Howard, 21 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Great game for her. So, Whoopi, why don't you go ahead and give us the winner?
Jason, this week's MVP is Natasha Howard. She was dominant both on offense and defense. She totaled 21 points, including 3 points from behind the arch. You see her here losing the handles only to regain them and get the bucket. She monopolized the boards with 16 rebounds, including 6 offensive rebounds. You see one there as she gets the defensive rebound and comes back across the court for the transition points. And she had 3 blocks, including this impressive denial of Brittany Griner and a total of 5 steals.
All right, and since we've got a special guest with us today, Joe, why don't you give us our nominees for the play of the week?
All right, play of the week. We got 4 great plays across the weekend. First, we got Elizabeth Williams with 3 blocks and 1 play. You cannot live in my house for free. You got to pay rent. All right. And then we have Jordan Canada with the smooth back layup. I think she went across like 3 defenders, showing no fear. She's like a superwoman in that play. And then we have Tierra McCowan with the buzzer beater, the rook, showing no fear. And she said in the post, I think, Candace Dupree saying hands up. She listened. She's being a good player. In 7 seconds, it was crazy. We're going to talk more about that. And then we have, who else do we have? Let me think about this. Oh yeah, D-Rob with the slick Euro step straight to the basket. She's looking healthy, guys. So, Whoopi, who do we got?
Thanks, Joe. Tonight's play of the week was the buzzer beater by Tierra McCowan. Down by 1 with 7 seconds left to the Liberty. Mitchell inbounds to Wheeler. McCowan sets a screen. Wheeler gets the ball to Dupree, who sees the tall hands of Tierra McCowan. And she scores. If the bucket stands, the Fever will win their first game of 2019. The refs take a look. And yes, the Fever score the first W of the year, and McCowan gets her first buzzer beater of her WNBA career.
All right, so there are your winners for our first official triple W of the week. Congratulations to each of them. That was a blast. Some phenomenal basketball being played. Joe, I gotta ask you right now, just a quick response.
Yeah.
I think that D-Rob move. Did you have any personal feelings about that one?
Oh God, nightmares. But I'm trying to keep my personal feelings out. It was slick. I'm not going to deny that it was slick. But as a basketball fan, you do not root for the opposing team, no matter how good that move is.
Yeah, I don't know if people realize that one of the hardest things about us doing this podcast is trying to be unbiased. Like, we have to fight it all the time. So, like, a lot of times I'll just be like, I'm like taking off my Sparks fan hat, and putting on my other hat. Yeah, it was a beautiful move, but yeah, if you were a Sky fan, I could see how that would be a rough one to rewatch over and over again. So,
absolutely.
Do my facial expressions show
it? Joe, we are so pumped to have you on the show. This is fantastic. We're super excited. Hey, let's talk with you for a little bit. We usually have kind of a main topic here, but we're going to make you the main topic for just a little bit. We get to have players and coaches on the show. We've had media personalities, different things like that. We rarely have an opportunity to just interview a fan and just hear what the fan has to say. So I want to just take a second. Let's just have a conversation, the three of us. We want to get to know you a little bit better, and I'm sure our listeners do as well. So just give us a little background. How long have you been watching the league? What kind of introduced you to the WNBA? Just kind of give us that background, maybe who your favorite team is, and kind of tell us how you got into them as well. So kind of give us a little bit of a background story.
All right, you guys have time, right?
Oh, we got plenty of time.
All right, I have to start off with this fun fact because I feel like I have to basically explain myself and explain my loyalty. So I grew up in Northern California, but I was born overseas. And my father was military. I grew up in the military. But my father was born and raised in Southside Chicago. I say he's like an OG gangster. It's funny. But because of that, I grew up a Chicago sports fan. And growing up overseas, in the 90s, they only showed what was popular in the United States.
Right.
And so it was in 1996. It was the Chicago Bulls, MJ, and the '96 Summer Olympics.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so the Bulls was just going on their second three-peat, and then the Summer Olympics came on, and it was phenomenal for me because it was the first time I ever saw a female athlete, because Lisa Leslie and Dawn Staley, Katrina McLean, Rebecca Lobo, all of them was dominating on the world stage, and it was good enough for David Stern to be like, we need a professional sports league. And so I've been a fan of the WNBA since it started.
Awesome.
So it was announced in the summer of '96. Its inception started in the summer of '97, and I was 8 years old. So
that's awesome.
I grew up idolizing Lisa Leslie. She was just tall and black, beautiful, and fierce, and she was just more than a basketball player. She was just a role model to me, because I grew up in two different cultures at the same time in a multicultural home. And so I didn't have a lot of, ethnic female athletes to look up to. And then here comes this beautiful, fierce woman. And I was just stars in my eyes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I even have her jersey number tattooed on me. And so
no way.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
So you're diehard. That's great. If you have the league tattooed on your body, that's pretty diehard.
Yes, I have 3 female athletes jersey numbers tattooed on me, and 3 male athletes that influenced me growing up.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. That's pretty sweet, Joe.
Yep.
That's cool. So you're a Sky fan, yes. being the Chicago connection, let's gather the Sky fan. Let's talk the status. I just want to know, as a fan, I want to hear your opinion right now. I want to hear how do you feel about the Sky right now? What do you see in their future moving forward? Obviously they're not, they haven't been top of the league lately. They've struggled the last little bit, but what do you as a fan, what do you like moving forward, and what's an area that you feel like they really need to improve, or maybe you have a hot take that you're like, man, I've been needing to get this off my chest, or something like that. Talk Sky with us. Talk Sky basketball.
Oh, I've been having a lot to get off my chest.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very active on Instagram, and so after that killer Saturday, the Instagram page, everyone was just all everyone get Katie Lou involved and stuff like that, and so I'm just it's been one game, calm down. But yeah. Of course, the departure of EDD, we haven't been to the playoffs, and so it's kind of been rough trying to find our new identity without her. She's a raw special talent, but it's a dangerous team.
Yeah,
it's an absolutely dangerous team when you have Diamond and Gabby, and then Lou, and then you have the veteran leadership with Flutie and Allie. They're going to shoot lights out. And then if you just pay attention to the interviews, especially with Diamond, they're hungry. And then with Coach James Wade, he's determined to put in a winning culture, and the owner's fed up. He wants to be in the playoffs. I think everyone wants to be in the playoffs, of course.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think what happened on Saturday is going to motivate them. I think most definitely, especially I think I saw at fourth quarter, Slutty's body language was just kind of I want this game done so I can talk to my team. I'm pretty sure that locker room talk was hey, We're going to use this as motivation, and this is never happening again. So I, of course, have faith in my team. I ride till I die. It's not ride or die. It's ride till I die.
Right until you die.
Yes.
And so, great.
Yeah, it's a lot of young raw talent, and they just need discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, with the rookies and stuff like that, they just confidence building up. And I think what a lot of people fail to realize is that Lou and Chloe, they both come from championship teams in college, and everyone tends to forget that, just because you come from a huge college team doesn't necessarily mean you're going to translate well to the WNBA.
Right.
Because it's a different breed.
Mm-hmm.
And you go undefeated, a huge loss like this is going to it's going to motivate them.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I just think Lou needs to talk more to her teammates and just be like aggressive and more confident in herself. And just be like, hey, trust me that I'm going to knock this shot down, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get open. Can I trust you to get me open?
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So,
yeah.
It's a good take.
So I'm just kind of curious, as a fan of the team, you mentioned that they've got a lot of youth with Katie Lou Samuelson and Gabby and Shields and all that stuff. Do you see them as, do you think this is their year, or do you see them as a team that maybe 3 years down the road is really going to be vying for that championship spot? What are your thoughts as far as how quickly can they get to the point where they're in the national conversation?
I think this year they may slip into the 7th or 8th seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's about where most of us had them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of that was a lot of our feeling, was they were a borderline playoff team. I could see them anywhere 7, as low as 10, but probably not higher than 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're either bubble or 7 or 8 seed because they're so young. But look at what Diamond did last year.
Right?
She exploded. Yeah, she exploded, and she credited it to Allie because she just wanted to be like Allie. And I have no doubt in my mind with Lou, she didn't have a great time on Saturday, and her college roommate outdid her. I was talking, and everyone put all this hype on Katie and then forgot about Nafisha. So probably Nafisha got a revenge.
Mm-hmm.
But with Lou and stuff like that, she has Diamond, she has Gabby, she has Flutie, and she has Allie to all be there for her and to be positive and tell her, hey, keep shooting and build that trust. Because with what happened with Diamond, she had Flutie and she had Allie to just take her in and keep talking into her ear and just be like, keep shooting, keep shooting. And I know Diamond's mad. I know Diamond's mad because she was silent on social media right after that loss. And so she's already getting into that mentality that this is never happening again. And so I think come Saturday, they're coming for the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, dude, the Sky and the Storm. We're pumped about that. We're pumped about that. I always think it's fun when team names kind of fit together. Anytime the Sun and the Mercury play, I think it's kind of cool. And the Sky and the Storm. That's just a good fit.
Are you sure that's Kyle? Are you sure it's not because those were the two teams you were introduced to?
Some of it. Anytime and I'm wearing a Sun hat and a Storm shirt, and we've got a little bit of Storm gear. I've got an Atlanta Dream hat behind me. Hey, you might appreciate this, Joe. I've actually got a Natalie Williams bobblehead behind me that Steve got me. One of the OGs for the Stars. OGs. So yeah. Joe, can I open up a wound for you? No. Is that brutal? Because here's the thing. You mentioned Della Dawn departing, right?
Yeah.
We've been dying to talk to a Chicago Sky fan about Sylvia Fowles. And kind of just, we want to hear your perspective on things, right? So back in, what was it, 2014, 2015, she didn't extend her contract and was kind of...
Sylvia left in 2015.
Right, yeah. And so when she was traded, like, this was just before we got into the league, right? But we weren't around to, like, kind of see how it all went down, but we just know she sat out the first half of the season. What was the vibe as a Sky fan during that time?
Well, EDD won MVP that year.
Right.
With the Sky. And so there wasn't a lot of talk about Sylvia.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the Lynx won that year. And so she got her revenge.
Right.
But I noticed right off the bat she wasn't doing any type of media, or she was on media day. She wasn't at training camp, and so I was like, "Where's Big Sil?" Like they had an amazing run last year because they made it to the finals. They got swept by Phoenix, and so and as a former player, I'm just like, emotions everything. Like when you're robbed that close and stuff like that, emotion influence a lot in the game, and so I'm all like, okay, this team's hungry. They want more, and so when I started noticing that Sylvia's nowhere around and the media wouldn't talk about it, I was just like, what is going on? And then it wasn't until when I guess it came closer and closer to a deal happening with that three-team trade, where they said that no, she was forcing the trade. She said she was going to sit out until they traded her to Minnesota. Right,
which is what we had heard, and so we'd heard that she was kind of just like on a personal strike, I guess you could say.
Yeah, which a lot of the players will do. Mm-hmm. They will if they're not happy with their organizations, mm-hmm. they have the power, because Liz Cambage.
Yeah, you see with Liz, yeah.
She's not the first player to do it, and she's not the last. Like Sinead did it also this year. She threatened to sit out, and so, she just was. She went to Pokey Chapman and was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be traded. And I guess it didn't come out, years later, where she said her preferred destination was Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, no, that's kind of good to kind of hear your perspective as a fan. We just were curious, again, that was something that happened right before we got really into the league. And so it was still like in the rumblings, especially as Minnesota's like repeating championships, and she's a huge part of it. She's, MVP, type style, play out there. And it's just like, oh, well, man, like we heard this. And so we were curious as a Sky fan, we wanted to hear your perspective on that.
It was crazy. Because I remember the day I woke up like in the middle of July to alert on my phone, and it was like 3-team trade, and Minnesota was like balling out with Damaris Dantas. She was doing great as a rookie.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they just like ship her out to Atlanta. And then we get Erica D'Souza, which, there's nothing wrong with Erica D'Souza, but I was just all like, really?
Like, that's what we got? And then Fowles has gone on to be, one of the top players in the league the last several seasons, and so. Yeah,
and then we ship Fowles to Minnesota, and I'm just all like, well, crap.
Feel you on that one. So, hey, I want to get some quick reactions. Joe and Jason, I want to hear you guys' responses. Jason, let's go with you first. I want to hear a little bit about your we had our opening weekend. Let's talk about it. What's something that you maybe caught your attention, like a quick reaction? What was something good and maybe something that you're like, that could have been better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my first thing going into this weekend, the big thing I wanted to know is who's going to step up and be the stars this year. obviously, one of the big storylines we've been covering for the last month or so has been injuries with Stewie, now Sue Bird, Elena Deladon. Like, all these players are missing time. They're missing minutes from previous injuries they're healing from, or in the case of Maya Moore, just the decision to kind of take a year off and focus on some other things. And so I was curious who was going to step up, and we got some answers. I think DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Alyssa Thomas, like you had people stepping up, even Afisha Collier, you had people stepping up and sort of saying like, hey, I want to be a star this year. I want to fill some of these roles. So that was really exciting to see. I think it's just evidence of how deep this league is and how badly we need expansion. We talked about that with Gustafsson getting cut and stuff. It's like, okay, like at some point we just need to start expanding this league because there's too many good players for us to be spread or to not be spread thinner.
Absolutely.
So that was one of my main things. Obviously, there were some glitches in coverage. I think that's just the nature of where the league is at. It's unfortunate, but I think a lot of times we get maybe less experienced producers, less experienced commentators covering the W, which we need to be able to change that. But that's where the league's at right now. And you kind of saw it with the adjective choice of the color people, the fact that they were struggling to come up with unique color commentary, stuff like that. Open mics, leaving the mics on through breaks. I mean, as a sound producer, that's just something real simple. You just slide the little bar down, hit mute, wait until the commercials come back, slide it back. It's simple things, and it's just inexperience from those people. So hopefully, as fans, we can get enough support for the league that we can get more experienced production. But I think that'll improve over the season. I don't think it's too big of a deal. I think people will start to get their routines in. So.
Right, especially a lot of these teams had first time teams, production teams working the game. So yeah, some of that was perhaps anticipated. Obviously, it was a little more than we would have liked to see. Yeah. But Joe, I want to hear your opening weekend response, or your thoughts, across the board. Any players really stick out? Any teams that really caught your attention, or anything overall about the production of the league?
Yeah, before I do that, real quick on Jason, expanding the league. Honestly, with CBA going on, I don't think it's the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I think give it, 2 or 3 years down the line, we may have the money for it or something like that. And just personally for me, with my personality, I'm always thinking worst case scenario. What the CBA agreement doesn't go through before the 2020 season, and there's going to be a strike. And so I just don't think it's the timing is quite right. But we've been saying it for almost 10 years now. We need to expand the league. Atlanta is the last team that we expanded technically. Like full brand expansion. If you don't count the Aces moving from San
with the transfer, right?
Yeah. And so, I just wanted to expand it on that. But
Absolutely.
my opening thoughts across the board. I think a lot of players are, still feeling the sting from last year, or are still, saying, look what you could have had, because Maria Vadiva.
Oh yeah.
Last night.
Yeah.
Seriously. I've been hype on her since last year, and I live in LA, and so I finally had the time and had the money to actually go to a Sparks game. And it was the ring ceremony after on 2017. And I just bought a ticket, and the next thing I know, I'm getting these calls from the Sparks organization, them trying to sell me package tickets. And so I've been going consistently to the games, and they're all like, "Hey, are you a Sparks fan?" And I have to explain to them, I like the Sparks.
But your Chicago blood runs deep.
Yes. Yes, but I'm a Chicago fan. And they're like, what?
But you're buying tickets.
Yeah. And they're like, well, what games do you want to go to? And I'm like, well, when did the Chicago Sky come?
That's great.
Yeah. And I have a friend who's like diehard LA sports fan. And I got her more into the league a couple years ago. So we go to the games. Mm-hmm. And I've been on Candace Parker since high school. And she's a Chicago kid. And so, yeah. We're talking too much Chicago.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah. I've been hype on Maria Vadiva since last year, like ever since she got drafted. And of course, you know, a lot of people slept on her because she didn't get a lot of playing minutes. Mm-hmm. But if you actually look at her picture, she's a beast. Like her size for her position, like she's a 3'4". And she's just built strong, and it's just like, what are they feeding you in Russia? Honestly. And what? You're only 19, 20 years old?
She's got an outside shot, too. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. She's so big, and then her jumper is killer. Like, she probably got shooting lessons from Sluty in Cottenburg. Because she just got better. And then last night, it was just like insane. She goes off for 24 points and like just stuffs the stat sheet. And then Dorica Hamby stuffs the stat sheet. And so I was completely happy. Last night's game wasn't about the superstars. Like,
yes,
the role players basically got to shine. A lot of role players got to shine. Seattle Storm is not going anywhere. I think a lot of people counted them out because of Stewie, and Sue Bird sat out because, you know, she's got to get a bone out of her knee, and then whoever's not doing their job and just wants to be lazy about it is delaying that. Yeah, the sound quality across the way could be better, but then again, it's just opening weekend, and LaChana Robinson is not doing the commentary anymore in Atlanta. I see that she's kind of moved on, or she landed on her feet, I guess, doing the ESPN thing analysis. And I'm with you on that, Jason. Like, I have a TV production BA, and so the producing stuff like irks me. I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
what is going on? Like, do you not have a counter?
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah.
You know, you guys have a lot of the similar thoughts as I did. You know, I thought that overall there was a lot of good to be seen. A lot of people stepping up. Obviously, the you know, what we even said a couple episodes ago. Jason did an episode about a season without its stars. But you know what I really like about this is that with injuries, with people sitting out, it's time for the kind of the next generation. You know, kind of this next crop of players to come through and really like show who they are. And I think that we're starting to see some of that, you know, with some of the performances that we're seeing. Obviously, Asia Wilson's, you know, she's already kind of a star. Nafisa Collier coming in strong. Tierra McCown with a game winner. You know, we already mentioned Maria Vadiva. Like some of these other players that are kind of coming through that have done a really, really solid job of kind of stepping in those empty roles. You know, who'd have thought that Natasha Howard, you know, last season would have been as huge as she was, and she looks even better this season, whereas two seasons ago, she's coming off the bench and wasn't getting a lot of playing time. So, really cool to see, you know, kind of this next group of stars kind of finding their way, and so I'm super excited about it. I think it'll be. I think it was a great opening weekend. Obviously, you know, we're just as WNBA fans, I just was super hype all weekend, like watching every game and excited about it. But speaking of, let's look forward into this next week. We put out on Twitter, we selected 4 games for you on Twitter to vote on as far as what would be our game of the week. The one that you selected of the 4 that we put out there would be the Sun at the Aces.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of
So the Sun are traveling to Las Vegas on Sunday, June 2nd. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 p.m. Pacific. For those of you in California, that's for you, Joe.
I will actually be in Germany.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We do not know what time it will be in Germany.
I'm not sure what time that is. We'll have to look that one up.
In Pacific time, Germany is 9 hours ahead of me.
9 hours ahead? So it'd be midnight,
so
right?
It would be midnight.
There you go.
If I'm sticking to my general time, but Eastern time, it would be like 6 hours ahead.
Oh yeah. So there you go. It's a midnight game for you. No worries, right? You guys can find You guys can find it on League Pass. Just real quick, I want to get some quick predictions. Okay, we've got the Sun, the Aces. Both of them had impressive wins this last weekend, and both look like some real solid teams to watch for this upcoming week. I want to just run through quick predictions. Jason, let's start with you. I want to hear your prediction with a score. Who's winning and what's the score going to be? Then we'll hear from Joe. I'll give one, and then obviously we've got Whoopi to round things out. So Jason, who you got?
Man, I really want to pick the Aces. Asia Wilson is fun to watch. Caitlin McBride had a good game this last week. Depending on how Liz Cambage's Achilles tendon feels, if it's still swollen, we may or may not see her. I haven't heard anything official on that. But I love Alyssa Thomas leading the Sun. I think that they are going to put together a really scary season this year for all of their opponents. They need to spread the ball around a little thinner, but I'm going with the Connecticut Sun. I'm going to have to go right around like 82-76. I think it'll be close all the way through, though.
I love it. Joe, who you got?
Jason, you need to spend more time on Instagram.
I do not have an Instagram, and I'm kind of proud of it, but at the same time, I miss a lot of stuff. So yes, I probably do.
Yeah, Liz is saying that she is coming back.
Okay.
Yeah. I obsessively watch all the players' Instagrams. And she's they're all very confident, her, Bill Lambier, the Aces organization, that she's actually coming back over the weekend. And so I'm super hype about it, and simply because of that, and simply how well they played without her. And I participated in your guys' Twitter polls. I picked Kelsey Plum as most improved, and she definitely made me proud.
Oh, she did really well. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go with the Aces on this one, as much as I've been hype on the Connecticut Sun for years now. Like, this is my 4th year saying don't sleep on them. Maybe everyone else will finally be hype on them. But yeah, my take is the Aces, they're more of a cohesive unit. They have most of them have 1 year under their belt, under Bill Lambier's system. But I do think it's going to be a shootout. Absolutely. Especially with Liz and Asia in the post. And then you have high octane shooting with Courtney and Rachel. And John Quell and Shakina on the Sun. But I think it's going to be a high point scoring game. But in the end, I think the Aces will prevail. All right. Do you have a score prediction?
Do I have a score prediction?
Yeah, let's put it on paper.
Thank God we're not putting money on this. I am going to go. Let's go our first 100-point game.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Let's go 108 to 105.
Oh, wow.
You said shootout. You weren't lying. I like it.
I can't cuss. I really want to say it, but I can't cuss. But yeah, let's do it.
I like it. Hey, I kind of am leaning a little bit more toward what Joe's saying as well. I think neutral court, I actually would take the Sun, but because it's in Las Vegas, it's going to be an emotional game with Liz Cambage probably, possibly returning. We'll see. I think some of those emotions are going to play big. So I'm going to give the Aces a slight edge here. I'm going 93-92, right down to the wire. 93-92, Aces edging it out because they have the home court advantage. Whoopi, what you got?
Actually, sorry, Kyle. Whoopi needs about 30 games to have a significant.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so Whoopi's still loading.
Fine. All right. Well, so that's our takes on our game of the week. We want to thank you guys for listening. Whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on iTunes or wherever you happen to be listening, whatever podcast grabber that you are listening in on, we appreciate it. If you're listening or watching, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that. Obviously, that's huge. We have a quick announcement. We did move into the #1 spot on the iTunes pod, or whatever it's called. What's it called? It's just the podcast app, right? The iTunes pod on iTunes. If you search WNBA, we're the first ones up there, and that's been a huge thing for us. We appreciate that so much that you guys are supporting the show, leaving reviews, supporting lots of downloads that we're seeing. So we appreciate that. That's huge. Follow us on Twitter at WNBA Weekly. You can catch us on Facebook as well. Just search bar WNBA Weekly will pop right up. If you want to be a part of the show, similar to what Joe's doing, you can catch us on Patreon. You can just go to patreon.com/WNBA Weekly. We're right there. Find a tier that's best for you if you feel like it. This is no pressure at all. This is simply just a way for us to improve our coverage. Everything that we receive through Patreon goes straight back into the show. We don't pay ourselves with any of that money at all. It just all goes back into production costs. And so we appreciate that you become a producer of sorts, similar to our friend Joe. If you want to catch some merch, we've got a merch store. It's WNBAweekly.storeenvy with one E, storeenvy.com. You can check things out there. You can grab one of our I'm a Nobody shirts that we use that money to go into purchasing WNBA tickets for those who haven't attended a game yet. That's where you can find us. Joe, you're going to help us with our outro today. All right. So we kind of end the show the same way every time. Oh, Jason, Joe, do you guys have any last words?
Last words. I did purchase some merchandise from you guys. I have some pretty cozy socks and a rockin' baseball shirt.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, and last time I was in Germany, I was rocking it. And
Sweet.
Yeah,
Sweet.
It definitely kept me warm because Germany's just ridiculous in February. My sister makes fun of me because I'm always bundled up, and she's just like, it's only 50 degrees, and I'm like, I'm from California. 50
Love
degrees
it.
might as well be 20.
So Joe can testify to the quality of the merch that you can get at that Store Envy page. Jason, any last words from you?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out there, we appreciate so much. We're #1 on iTunes. We're #1 on Stitcher if you search for the WNBA. So we're officially the #1 WNBA related podcast, passing up some ESPN sponsored ones and stuff. So we appreciate that. And it's because of your downloads and it's because of your reviews. Since we last read a review, we've gotten one more 5-star review. We've gotten more than one 5-star review, but somebody who actually wrote a comment along with it, because you can just either rate it 5 stars or you can leave a comment. And it was Steph Mugga is the name of the person who left the comment, and they just said, love it. We love you too, Steph Mugga. Thank you.
Absolutely. We love you too. All right, Joe. So as we sign out, feel free to hop in, yell your name as well. For WNBA Weekly, I'm Kyle Haywood.
I'm Jason Snow.
And I'm Joe Boris.
And we got you next time.